who part the sea of millions who come to cheer them on to victory. From across the water has come American Greg LeMond, taking their sport and making it his life's work. It is LeMond who the world has picked to win this year's Tour de France. Riding with him, France's favorite son, Bernard Hinault. Hinault has pledged this year he will dedicate himself to a win for the American. But can a man with this passion for winning give up the chance to win again? It was LeMond who last year sacrificed himself for his friend and mentor, and now the two form the Tour's electrifying tandem. LeMond, Hinault, and 208 of the finest athletes in the world will take the month of July and turn all of France into their battleground. Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault will travel the 2,500 miles, tugged along by the 10-man La Vie-Claire Dream Team put together by Hinault. This is the La Vie-Claire freight train and Greg LeMond's passport to victory. But standing in the way is a man who has beaten the both. Two-time champion Laurent Fignon is back after last year's knee injury. And it's Fignon who is coached by the man who once coached all three. This, then, will truly be the battle royale in cycling's great race. Hello, everyone. I'm John Tesh, reporting live from Paris, France, and welcome to our coverage of the Tour de France bicycle race. You know, before this race began, all the talk was about the favorites, Bernard Hinault, the Frenchman, and the American Greg LeMond. But along came the first American team to enter the Tour de France, and while the results were shocking, we'll tell you more about that a bit later on in this hour. But first, I want to give you a brief synopsis about how the Tour de France works. Each day, it's a different race. One day, it might be a mountain stage. The next, a time trial. It's based on overall elapsed time. And very simply, the man who completes the entire 2,525-mile course in 24 days in the best overall elapsed time becomes the champion of the Tour de France. Stay with us. Over the next hour, we'll bring you our coverage of the Tour, the greatest bike race on earth, the Tour de France. It's remembered in this replica of the lady, which sits in the River Seine in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. It was given to the French as a thank you by the U.S. back in 1928. It's appropriate that the first race of the Tour de France on this July 4th should be held in the home of Augusta Bartholdi, the designer of the Statue of Liberty. We're in Bologna for the prologue time trial. And in this industrial center on the western border of Paris, a good bit of the pre-race talk is about American Greg LeMond. This is the first time the Tour de France has traveled through the streets of Bologna, and the folks have turned out to see the world's very best. The first day is always a time to renew acquaintances, as friends from all over the world once again unite to start this great race. For the men who will begin this 73rd tour, the time here at the starting line is spent fine-tuning the machines and the flesh and blood. 2.9 miles away at the finish line is my colleague Phil Liggett.
Well, here at the finish line of this opening prologue of the Tour de France, there's an indication of the great interest in the event. Over 500 journalists have already arrived. And the reason is that this prologue time trial may only be a shade under 3 miles, but it will give some indication as to who will lead the teams. The Tour de France essentially is a team race. There are 21 of them here, each one with 10 riders. Most of the teams know their leader, but one or two of them don't. And one of those teams, of course, is La Vie-Claire. Will it be Greg LeMond or will it be Bernard Hinault? And the chance here in what the French call the race of truth will give both of them their chance to prove their strength. Well, they call it the race of truth for one reason, because you're on your own, there's no drafting, and the watch tells the truth. And Bernard Hinault has won a prologue time trial on no fewer than 5 occasions in the past. Greg LeMond has never done so, yet he really is everybody's favourite to lead the team. So a lot to fight out in a very short time trial, a real scene setter for the start of this year's Tour de France. Away from his public, Bernard Hinault, France's most popular sportsman, prepares mentally and physically for the short but important time trial. Is Le Monde behind, thinking what is in the mind of the man they call the Badger? Le Monde exudes the confidence of a rider who believes in himself. It's a different pressure for Eric Heiden, a champion in speed skating. He's a novelty here, but Eric has an infectious personality, and true to the Heiden method, he prepares in his own relaxed way to face the clock and the pain.
Yes, it is the race of truth. And the look of concentration etched on their faces tells you the importance of these final seconds in the start house. Maybe it's concentration, and maybe it's fear. Because when the moment draws nearer to meet the watch, the anticipation breeds a cold sweat. Blast out of the start house, and then it's a journey alone, a sprint, contre la montre, against the watch. Behind each rider, a team support car rolls out, packed with spare parts, even a spare bike. The race to stop time has turned bike racers into high-tech projectiles, aerodynamic helmets, and solid moon wheels to escape wind drag. The Tour de France cannot be won alone, but it's only fitting that the first race end that way, with the sound of the wind and the crowd blasting into your ears. At the finish line, 5 minutes of work can be time well spent, or it can leave you deep in a hole with 22 more days of riding ahead. In a race decided on overall elapsed time, this is what it's all about. Coming up, can the power